Conservation Ag Update is brought to you by Montag Manufacturing. Come on in, welcome to the show. Noah Newman here, and February is here, which means planting season's creeping up for most of you. And a wise man once told me that in the field you learn more from your mistakes than your triumphs. Amherst, Nebraska no-tiller Jared Kenney has certainly triumphed recently, placing top 3 in the state's NCGA yield contest twice in the last 3 years. But he owes some of that success to the mistakes he's made along the way, especially when it comes to planting.
Planting is what puts the grain in the bin. If you're not taking the time to find the right seed depth, get out of the tractor, do some digging, figure out where that seed is, if you have the right spacing, if you're getting a good close on that track, that's probably the most crucial part of the year. And the biggest mistake you'd say is going out and planting a field that's too wet or too dry. Like this year, we started off and we went into some of our no-till fields and we couldn't even get the planter to go on the ground. I mean, as much pressure as you could put on the machine, you couldn't get it to go to the seed depth you wanted. And so we pulled the planters out of the field and started a bunch of pivots and made a circle around them, put some moisture in the soil, and it was just day and night. So I think not getting a rush when it comes to planting there's been times we've said it's time to go and we just went, and you see that outcome at the end of the year when it comes to yield. If you're not planting into the right conditions, it really hurts you at the end of the year.
Kenny's family placed top 3 in the no-till irrigated category last year with 312 bushels per acre. All right, some people I've talked to are also looking at experimenting with different kinds of micro and macronutrients this spring. Which ones are best? That's the question. Here's the top 4 according to Midwestern BioAg founder Gary Zimmer, aka the father of biological agriculture.
And we had better, healthier, higher yielding crops when we started paying attention to phosphorus uptake, available calcium, higher calcium levels in the plant, boron, and magnesium. Those 4 minerals, if I look at a feed test or a tissue test on any crop, if there are really high uptakes of those 4 minerals, it'll be the highest, best quality crop you'll ever grow. So the boron really affects calcium uptake and sugar translocation. To get magnesium uptake, you can't overdo potassium and you're going to have to use sulfur. And to get phosphorus uptake, you can dump all you want onto the soil, but to get phosphorus uptake, you're going to need a little biology, a little mycorrhizal fungus. So monitoring those 4 minerals really changed your crop. Now, always the minerals that we would like to add, we look at sources and we're dry blenders of fertilizer. But trace minerals are also very valuable and critical for many plant functions. If you want to go to the next level in production, you better pay attention to them. Some farmers say, well, you just added my costs. And I said, no, I want to switch your costs. Instead of putting on more insecticides, fungicides, and pesticides, why not switch to healthier nutrition into the plant and get higher levels of trace minerals, higher levels of calcium? You'll actually get rid of some of your issues that you're spending money on now that never make your farm better.
I gotta say, that interview might win the award for most information-packed minute of all time. Thanks, Gary. Moving on to this week's Cover Crop Connection. Mackane Vogel has a potential solution for slug control, and it involves bread?
Thanks, Noah. Mackane Vogel here with this week's Cover Crop Connection. I chatted with Associate Professor at Oregon State University, Rory McDonnell, about his innovative research on combating slugs and snails. Cover croppers and no-tillers often have an especially hard time managing slug and snail pressure, and McDonnell just may have found the bread and butter for knocking out these pests.
So one of the important things in my program is we're looking at these novel ways for helping growers to control slugs. And one of the interesting things we've discovered over the past couple of years is that there are some food sources that slugs are very attracted to. And we have found that fermenting bread dough, so a simple bread dough mix, is extremely attractive. And that could be used in mass trapping scenarios. It could also be used in a track and kill approaches. So you put some of this fermenting dough out in the field, and instead of you going to find the slugs come to you because you've put the dough out. So then you target those areas within your crop where the bread dough is. We're working with a scientist in Canada at the minute, and we're trying to develop a synthetic equivalent of the bread dough so that we can then incorporate that into existing baits to make them more attractive. And just to give you an idea of how effective it can be, we worked on a snail species in Montana, and it's called the Eastern heat snail. We tested our bread dough in Montana, and after we deployed, I believe it was 60 traps with the bread dough, 60 traps with just water, which was our untreated control. And we collected snails over 48 hours. And after 48 hours with the Bretto, we'd collected 18,000 snails in 60 traps versus 400 or 500 with the water control traps. So I think that really speaks to how attractive this material is for these organisms.
Stay tuned for an upcoming Cover Crop Strategies podcast, as well as an article with more info on McDonnell's slug and snail research in the coming weeks. That's all for this week's Cover Crop Connection. Until next time, back to you, Noah.
Thank you very much, Mackane. Our bosses, Frank and Mike Lessiter, took a road trip. They paid a visit to 360 Yield Center headquarters in Central Illinois last week and got an up-close look at the new 360 Rain. Check it out. It's an autonomous irrigation system that's also capable of applying manure, nitrogen, and micronutrients through Y-drop style hoses. It requires much lower volumes of water than traditional irrigation systems. And 360 founder Gregg Sauder tells us it boosted yields by over 65 bushels per acre in some fields. What will one of these things look like on your farm? You can find out at the National Farm Machinery Show February 14th in Louisville, Kentucky.
And I told our team what we're going to set up in our large booth is we're going to have 3 individuals there. You come in, and if you can pick out your home farm on Google Earth and drop a pin, we'll design what a rain system would look like for you. So the machines you see being built here in the factory, they carry 3,000 feet of 3-inch hose, and that'll do up to 200-acre field. So depending upon the shape, and I've got myself into a lot of interesting conversation. We said we can water any shape that you can plant. We have seen some fantastic different shapes around hooks and canneries, around the creek and over the hill and around the vale. And so what we'll be doing at Louisville is you sit with us, we'll design for you on your own home farm exactly what a 360 Rain technology would look like.
Thanks for that interview, Greg. This week's Farmer Feature spotlights another person who's always ahead of the curve, Jon Stevens. They said no-till wouldn't work on his stubborn soils in Rock Creek, Minnesota. Oh, but he proved the doubters wrong, earning the nickname Mr. Maverick in a recent John Deere feature. Well, Mr. Maverick could also be called a mad scientist when it comes to improving his operation. John's always experimenting with cover crop mixes, tinkering with equipment, and boosting soil health with livestock and different crop rotations. So we asked Stevens what some of his goals are for 2024 and beyond.
So the goal moving forward is to do like our grandparents did to mitigate costs. I would love to figure out how to ban herbicide. What's better for the soil? A little 1-inch stirring once in a while if we're bringing back cover crops in between the stirrings, or throwing on a whole lot of herbicide and chemical and poisons onto the soil. I'm going to say the soil is probably going to appreciate a little stirring and then bringing back more life. If I can put a test plot aside, a couple acres aside, and be the first guy in our area to have a 300, 350 bushel, 400 bushel, I don't know if that's doable, but if I could be that guy, the weirdo in the neighborhood with the ugly fields is also the guy that is now known for the high yield test plot, it just adds a comedic value that you just can't buy.
Stevens is also a big strip tiller. Check out his classroom presentation from the 2023 National Strip Tillage Conference at striptillfarmer.com. Diving deep into the Lessiter Media archives for our video of the week. This one comes to us from Elliottsburg, Pennsylvania. A few years ago, no-tiller Dave McLaughlin showed off his Kraus 5200 no-till drill that's been Huberized by Huber, his local dealer.
It does not drive off the back wheels anymore. They actually have a drive wheel out front that drives the drill. But it is a fairly standard no-till coulter leading the double disc openers, followed by the press wheel. A fairly heavy drill in my opinion, and it does a very good job for me, even up here on the farm we're at in the stones. On the drill, I do not have row cleaners. I have row cleaners on the corn planter.
All right, the show just flew by. That'll wrap things up. Got a topic, photo, or video you'd like to see on the program? Shoot me an email. Here's my email address, innewman@lespub.com. Thanks as always for spending part of your busy day here with us. We'll see you in a couple weeks.